So Spider-Man becomes a cosmic entity, a very powerful one at that, as he goes on to kill almost all the heroes and villains while webbing up the entire universe. But before we can understand that, we have to go back a bit, back into the midst of Venom War, which is essentially a battle between Eddie Brock and his son Dylan for the fight of symbiotes, specifically the Venom symbiote, which Spider-Man currently is wearing and has. And while Peter is fighting Bedlam, which is basically a giant red symbiote version of Eddie Brock's rage personified, the symbiote, the Venom symbiote from within him, starts to call out to him, starts to speak to him as he goes on to say, "You think this is the last time you will see me, but even if it is, you have to let me go." Because at this moment, Eddie Brock's body is damaged and he's dying, and he needs the Venom symbiote to heal. And while he is in the middle of thinking over what Venom has said, we then see a third party enter the conversation, speaking out saying, "But you don't want that, do you? You know the truth deep in your bones. You love him, you love the symbiote." And this other third voice is none other than the Eventuality, who is the final form of Eddie Brock once he establishes and completely becomes the King in Black. And as a King in Black, he isn't bound to time the same way any other person would be. He can skip and portray himself through it. And as Spider-Man's spider sense is going absolutely haywire, the Eventuality starts to take on his true form and what he really looks like. Some kind of giant spider being, which is pretty good cosmic horror if I've ever seen any. And so the Eventuality starts to give Peter what he wants. He starts to show him a future, a potential and possible future of what would happen if he kept the symbiote, as he goes on to say, "Come little spider, hold fast to the Clintar's power, unlock yourself from the veil of time, and behold the world to come. Run away from your human skin, and see the King in Black underneath." As Spider-Man is mentally propelled an undisclosed amount of time into the future if he kept the Venom symbiote and fully accepted the power and became the next future King in Black, with of course Eddie laying here and dying. And here's where we pick up where we left off in the beginning, where we see Spider-Man walking the starways of the universe on his giant cosmic web. You heard me right, Spider-Man has webbed the universe, because he goes on to narrate and explain, "From world to world my web stretches through the void. I give form to infinity and sit at the center of the stars. I am the king of all that remains in this empty webbed universe, and I have come a long way from Queens. But even still, the few who remain beyond my control now marshal and join together against me. I can sense it, every one of them even being once a friend." As we see Spider-Man literally swing through the cosmos and universe, making his way back to a fully webbed up and webbed over Earth, with him even going on to say, "I really wish it hadn't come to this. It's the kind of thing I have heard tyrants say across centuries. But now, in this terrible moment, I mean it. Genuinely, I've been fighting for so long. Heroes, villains, armadas, empires, they all blend together. Ever since that day in New York, after my so-called victory and Mary Jane's mastery of the Arachneote, we ruled as king and queen, until she was consumed, until our daughter chose the darkness of Groot space over feeling her grief. They will never understand why I protect them, what I lost all those years ago with a single choice. Because Peter, even in the situation he is now, when he seemingly has control of the entire universe almost, he still thinks everything that's happened and how everything turned out is his fault," which I mean partially could be true, especially as we get more lore and context on this potential future. But as we see him land on Earth and in New York, we just see him being confronted by the Guardians of the Galaxy. But not just them, they also have extra help. But as Rocket Raccoon greets Peter, telling him, "If you're still in there, I want you to know it didn't have to be like this." Because as we see the Guardians of the Galaxy teaming up with the Silver Surfer, someone using Stark Tech in a Hulkbuster suit, and Hulkling using the cape or even the magic of Doctor Strange. They are all teaming up to try and take on Spider-Man and his rule as the King in Black, and almost terrorizing this entire universe. With who I believe to be his Nebula going on to say, "We get one chance at this, so we have to hit him hard. His spider sense will have already told him we are coming, so all we can do for now is forget the man he was and show no mercy." And the Silver Surfer himself going on to agree, saying he is already to face the starways beyond recognition. There is no longer mercy to offer. And because we see the Silver Surfer here, we can assume Spider-Man as the King in Black took out Galactus and all the other major universal players and entities at work. And now this little ragtag team of heroes, who I believe to be is this future Avengers team, are all the resistance left, or at least on Earth, to try and conquer this new Spider-Man King in Black. And we even see this other symbiote person that I haven't mentioned yet, which is known as the Arachneote, which is a special Clintar and symbiote case that we will get to a little later. But with that all said, this group of heroes then decide to attack, all jumping towards Spider-Man, trying to take him out in one final fell swoop. But as it would turns out, Peter being the King in Black isn't just in title only, no, he also gains the powers that be with the title of King in Black. And as we will soon find out and see, his power is immense, as he is going to effortlessly take out this entire ragtag team of Avengers, starting with him literally beheading Rocket in one swoop, killing the Raccoon, dead. But we do see this Avengers team are able to get some hits in, even knocking the symbiote off of his face, where we see a little jaded and aged Peter, because as you know so far, this is a possible timeline in the future. But those hits are the only last thing they're going to get on Peter, as he then decides to lock in and take the battle seriously, cutting through, stabbing, delimbing, completely destroying this entire team. As we see Gamora, Star-Lord, Groot, even whoever was in his Hulkbuster suit, all instantly and easily taken out, even with him grabbing the limbs of Hulkling, ripping his arm straight off of his body. As Spider-Man goes on to say and try to convince himself, as long as everyone else here, and almost cope with the fact of his actions and everything that led him to this point. With him going on to say it's for them, the people that have died and were sacrificed, he says it's for them I have made this universe a place of order and peace. But you defile their memory by forcing my hand again. But maybe that's always just my lot in life, huh? Great power, great responsibility, and even greater grief. As he creates a spike and shooting it through another member, causing her to explode. As we see the last person on the battlefield being the Arachneote, a mysterious symbiote who we don't know who is underneath so far. They go on to have a little chat, with Peter going on to ask it, was this what you wanted, Arachneote? You weren't satisfied consuming my wife, my friends. You just had to consume their futures as well. And as the Arachneote lunges for Peter, it goes on to say, future? What future? You never trusted anyone after you lost her. You blamed yourself, you blamed us, you even blamed your daughter. Which just gives a little more lore on this entire situation, the possible future, and what could have happened, with Peter being most grief-stricken and lashing out and trying to control the universe after losing his family. Because no matter how great of power Peter may have, at the end of the day, he was still first and foremost human. And just like any man, losing whatever you hold dear to you, especially a family, can push you to the brink and make you do actions beyond what you would normally even consider. Because his daughter is obviously a soft spot for Peter, as he goes on to say, don't you dare talk about her. You're the reason I lost her in the first place. I see the entirety of time. I see through every symbiote in every moment. Everything I have done was for my family, but now they're gone. As he stabs the Arachneote through the back and chest, essentially dooming her to death. But before the Arachneote dies, it goes on to say one more thing. You can see through every symbiote except us. We were never gone, Dad, we just weren't yours. As we see the person in this symbiote, the Arachneote, was Peter's daughter, who he inadvertently killed himself with his own hands in his little moment of rage and grief, with him going to scream out in obvious distraught, as the only thing he cared about in this entire universe with all the power in the world was his daughter, his family, but now all of it is gone, frankly to his own actions. But just then, as we see this future Peter at his lowest, he then hears another voice in his head saying, Peter, come back to me. You are lost in time, but time is a liar. Listen to the voice of now. It's as you have told me, nothing is eventual. As Peter's mind is pulled back through time back into his present body, because Peter, witnessing all of this, has to make a decision. Will he keep the Venom symbiote, in possibly making this possible future a reality? With him going on to say, we all have a choice, and as long as that's true, nothing is eventual. Everything in life is malleable, being able to be changed by your current and future plans and options, and choices. And right now, Peter has a big choice himself, as he says time to choose, shooting the symbiote off of him, casting it off of him towards two other people, finally putting an end to the short-lived symbiote Spider-Man. As Peter and the Venom symbiote say their goodbyes, Peter says one final thing. It was fun while it lasted, a friendship, a partnership even, but at the end of the day, they are Venom. As we see the Venom symbiote cover the dying and his son Dylan, bringing them back to full health, with also giving Dylan a cool redesign, and Venom back his classic look. And as Spider-Man goes back to fighting the giant red symbiote in his now classic red and blue costume, he even gets a call that Mary Jane is in danger of still fighting the Arachneote thing in the present day. The thing that consumed her and eventually was her doom in the future. Well, a possible future that could have happened, but now Spider-Man, after seeing that, is determined to never let that happen, saying, no, I can save her, I can do this. Because no matter what happens, I am not losing anyone else tonight. As we see a widespread panel of the Arachneote, a giant ancient symbiote creature still terrorizing the city, and one that Spider-Man has to take care of in the next issue. But for now, this issue and video comes to a close. If you've enjoyed, leave a like, or subscribe if you like this type of content and want to see more comic breakdowns, superhero versus battles, and everything hero related. As always, this is the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.